Ladies and gentlemen, this is Watson Michael from Ceylon Institute of English and Leadership. And once again, we are honored to have Mr. John Jeffcock back with us. So he's the Chief Executive of the award-winning C-Suite Network business Winmark. Also, he's the author of the Sweet Spot, Reaching, Leading, Delivering the C-Suite. John, welcome back. How are you doing today?
I'm very well, thank you, Michael. And it's great to be with you again.
Absolutely. So these days there are so many things happening in the AI world. So what are your views on AI these days?
Well, that's a big question.
Yeah.
I think we're still at the front edge of AI. I think we've got
Mm,
3-4 years to go before we see the real seismic impact that it can and will have. And I think also we're seeing a separation between those people who are ignoring it slightly as
yeah.
individuals or as organizations and those that are fully engaging with it. And that's gonna take different people on different journeys in the near future.
Yeah, it is. It is. So because there are projections, right? That generative AI could hit the $1 trillion mark by 2030s. What are your views about it?
Well, our research across the C-suite has the use of AI growing in corporates by a multiple of
Mm,
2.4 every year. The
yes.
Moore's law, remember Moore's law was that memory computers would double every year. So this is going faster than that.
Yeah.
It's going 0.4 faster than that is materially faster than that. So it is going to grow exceptionally fast. So there is
Mm-hmm.
a so from that perspective, there is no reason why it can't be $1 trillion business, and it is something people will probably want to be involved in from the start.
Yeah, very true. Because sometimes when I'm even downloading certain things and when I use Adobe on the phone, I can see use AI. It's coming, and there's a new feature. Some similar other apps also AI is coming, right? Yes. So now going back, okay, people doubted the internet at its very beginning. So, because most of the people said the internet won't be useful and so many other things. But today, most of us use the internet in our daily lives, whether it's personal or work. Will AI do the same?
So our view on this is quite interesting, that the general view we pick up from the leaders in technology is that AI
Hmm.
is bigger than the internet. So it's going to be
Yes.
more transformation than the internet. The internet, was really just a source of information and new route for selling, whereas AI can actually do things.
Hmm.
So it's going to be very material from that perspective. And we're seeing, in a way, there are four levels of evolution for
Yes.
AI. You've got the first level, which
Okay.
is the everyday personal work. So you might use
Mm.
Microsoft Copilot, and you might
Yeah.
use ChatGPT. You go back to talk to a client. You might put the client in a chat or the company in a chat, see what's come up, and say, write me a brief sales brief so I know what to talk about when I go in, or what's there been the
Yes.
news for, or you
Hmm.
might use it to write a presentation
Yeah.
or to consolidate some work you've done. So everyday work that is going on now today. So a lot of people, we will be using ChatGPT or some form of generative AI every day. And it's important that
Hmm.
corporates get people using it and starting to use it. Um,
Yeah.
there's a view that at a very personal level, it can probably shave 4 to 5 hours off your working week.
Mm. Wow.
So you gain half a day back into your working week every week. And imagine what you can do with that time. You can
Yeah.
take time off, but you could also
Yes.
invest that in other added value things. So that in a way is the first phase, that personal bit.
Mm.
The next phase it's been used for is really is the back office processes in a corporate. So if
Hmm.
you want a HR function or legal function or finance function, it's been used to do many of the back office processes. And where we are at the moment is we sit probably in those two phases. You've got some corporates that are starting to address the back office process. That might be In legal, it might be contract management, or in finance, it might be, reading invoices and that kind of thing.
Mm.
And people are using it at a personal level. So those are the first two phases. The next two
Mm.
phases is when you start to go into much more technical things.
Mm.
So that could include client interfacing, or it could include, say, internal reporting. So so a tax function might use it to report, to do their annual tax report across multiple jurisdictions. Or you might use it to tailor your customer service. So it goes into your data, segments it for you, and does that. Then the
Yes.
final phase will be where that happens across the corporate, and it joins up.
Mm-hmm.
For the moment, we're still in phase 1, 2, and we're expecting it to be 3 or 4 years before we get to phase 4, if that makes sense.
Yeah, wow. Super insightful because when you said like that, I just remembered because about when you said about Microsoft, nearly after 3 decades, they have changed their keyboard. So all the new Microsoft powered laptops will be coming with a new key for the copilot.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. It
great.
is there, and that's partly a problem, is that the
Mm-hmm.
big corporates are dominating it as
Yeah.
a technology, because it takes huge amounts of
Mm-hmm.
money and investment,
Yes.
and that is but it also should be a opportunity for smaller organizations to make
Mm-hmm.
leaps forward,
Yeah.
and for developing countries. If
Mm.
you may be behind on old tech, but if it's a new tech coming in, you can jump to be on par with any advance. So if you want to take on America, you can become
Mm-hmm.
you can come as good from day one, because they've been doing it as long as you have, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. It does. So yeah, I mean, like when you speak about the small, medium businesses, they might have a challenge. Wait, right. So now, in let's look at the corporate jobs. Okay, I mean, these days most of the corporate jobs you need to operate a computer, or you need to have Microsoft or similar tools. You need to have the knowledge how to operate. Okay.
Yeah.
So, don't you think people will have to have some AI knowledge, like machine learning or programming languages, to do certain tasks in time to come? Because and automation will also will it affect wages? It might, right? I mean, what do you think?
Well, that's an interesting question. So I think okay, that's several questions. And so I
Yeah.
think it's a bit like people always turn around and say, well, if you drive a car, you don't need to know
Mm.
how it works. You just need to be able to you need to be able to drive it.
Mm.
But the flip side is that if you're BMW, you do
Yes.
deeply have to understand how it works. If you're making the stuff, you have to
Mm.
understand it works. But if you're using it like ChatGPT, you don't need to understand how it works. You just need to be able to
Mm.
use it effectively. So the first I think point. So you need people practicing on all those skills. We
Mm.
are we are seeing particularly leadership teams picking up on it now, and boards and budget being allocated internally for it to go on. We also see, which is really interesting in terms of career development. Let me give you a small sector example. If you take
Mm.
lawyers.
Sure. Sure. Yeah.
So lawyers, when they talk about someone's experience, they talk about post-qualified experience. So and they call it PQE. So they call it 6 years
Mm-hmm.
PQE, means they got 6 years after qualifying as a lawyer.
Yes.
So I was talking to a general counsel recently, and they were
Mm-hmm.
saying that they reckon you could jump a person from 1 year to 6 year PQE if they were AI
Okay.
supported.
Mm.
So that's really interesting. So what they're saying is, with an augmented person in the workplace, can jump from being one experience to six when they're supported by
Mm.
AI. But actually, if you drill into that a bit more, it doesn't quite work. So if you take the role of a lawyer, for example, part of it is understanding the context. So AI won't necessarily help you understand the context. It will help you technically, but it won't help you understand the context. The next bit is behavioral. How do you interface like a
Mm.
doctor? How do you interface with clients? How do you do those
Mm.
things? And again, AI, could give you some form of training, but it's not really helping you in that space. So of the
Mm.
three things a law actually does, it might help in one a lot, but the other two not really, if that
Mm.
makes sense. So there is and that's across all all prof all professions. There is also so we don't expect AI to be replacing jobs, if that makes sense. But
Okay.
the problem you have in that is the people we're talking to are the business leaders. So what they're saying is
Mm-hmm.
they don't expect to be replaced. Um, but
Mm.
if you drop down into management, then it's a much bigger issue. So I think McKinsey's are saying that
Mm-hmm.
something like 20% of all tasks done by human beings at the moment in the
Yeah.
workplace could be replaced by AI. And
Okay.
that's
Right.
enormous. That's
Mm.
enormous. And so,
Yeah.
but it's tend to be, well, what it tends to be, it doesn't tend to be a whole job. It tends to be part of jobs.
Yeah.
So you break down into little tasks. It tends to be part of job. So we don't expect to see people be suddenly made redundant. We expect people to be, in a way, freed up to create more value. So you can just work much faster. So what we do at Winmark, we events with executives. What we used to do is take notes of those events, and we used to
Mm.
pre-see that, and then we'd email that out to members afterwards who couldn't attend the event.
Mm.
Now, digitally to record it, we can digitally transcribe it. We can put that transcription into ChatGPT or another generative AI
Wow.
system. We can say create the key learning points, and it creates key learning points. And then we can say, and now put that into a PowerPoint presentation and give it background music. And you go, well, it's done in a very short space of time, and that enables us to work much faster and deliver more value. So from that perspective,
Mm.
it's a good thing. I think it's also a bit like people were terrified when the planes came out that the trains would disappear. If that
Mm.
makes sense, I'm
Mm.
terrified that but actually what happened is people just got more choice and
Mm.
more people travel. So I think when you create these things, yes, some jobs are replaced, but more jobs are created at the same time because we haven't invented those jobs yet, but they will, but they will come. So the process I've just explained to you is a new person in our company. We'll do that as a job. So we have an AI job coming up, which is just using that. So it does so in that way it's job creation, and we can create more value rather than and but it is taking jobs off lots of other people. Enables us to centralize a role, which is quite interesting.
So,
So yes, it will
yes.
impact people's careers without question. And I think
Yeah.
HR functions find this quite challenging of how do we shift a cultural change in the company? I think that's quite a
Mm.
challenging issue for many HR directors at the moment.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, it's pretty interesting. Okay. I mean, it's disruptive innovation. Okay. Right. So recently, John, you presented the AI subject matter to the Lord Mayor. Can you briefly tell us about it?
So the Lord, so okay, beg your pardon. For global cities, it's they
Mm.
are very aware they need to stay competitive as cities. So
Mm.
where do you float your company? Do you go to London or New York or do you? So
Mm.
they sit in this competitive environment. The Lord Mayor realizes that AI is going to impact all jobs. It's going to impact the structures of markets and so on. And so he brought together a working group initiative to pull together AI resources. So like putting together the academics, the
Mm.
institutes,
Mm.
the professionals, and the user groups, really with a view to making sure London stayed relevant in the whole pitch. So we were asked to
Mm-hmm.
talk to him about what we were doing across our C-suite, which was mainly how people gear up. And what people are after now a lot are user case studies. So there's lots of
Mm.
talk, but have people got actual examples where they deployed it and it working. So we're very much after user case studies now. Um, and that's where it's gone. And I think that's part of what they were doing. They were trying to help upskill the city as a whole.
Wow. So it's pretty interesting, right? It is. Right. So great, John. So thank you for taking time. And any final message you'd like to give our audience who watch this and who will be listening to this as well?
Yeah, I think My final message would be, I remember when the internet came out,
Mm,
and I remember law firms debating on whether they have a website or not internally,
mm,
thinking it was a
yeah.
new. And I think that nowadays, people would go, well, that was amazing. They debated that, it wasn't obvious they had to do it, and all these things are
Yeah.
obvious in hindsight.
Yeah.
I think we are in the same place as on AI now. Is you just have to build your personal capability and your corporate
Hmm.
capability. Let me give you an example of that. In our CEO network, we were working with a guy called John O'Neill.
Okay.
John O'Neill is the founder of Unipart, so he makes car
Okay.
parts for automobile manufacturers.
Okay.
He employs 14,000 people.
Hmm.
He's 70 years old,
Wow.
and he spends a month researching AI and teaching himself. So he spends an hour
Wow.
researching AI and teaching himself every day, and has done that for the last 6 months.
Wow.
So that's quite interesting too. I've got a 70-year-old CEO of a £14,000 business, the 14,000 people business, teaching himself
Wow.
for an hour every day AI because he considers it that important. That gives you an
Mm.
idea of when you get people of that age and seniority with that level of workload taking it that seriously, you've got to take it seriously.
Absolutely. So, I mean, that's a real inspiration. I mean, 1 hour into 30 days is 30 hours. It's like a short course, right? So, I
Yeah.
mean, it's pretty impressive. And at his age, right? And you find youngsters complaining like they don't know how to manage time and they're saying we don't have
Yeah.
much time. But seeing such an elderly
Yeah.
gentleman who his company employing around 14,000 people, wow, I mean, it's true inspiration.
Yeah. I agree with that. And I've just put myself onto an AI course.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Wow.
we've got to do it.
Fantastic. So I'm also learning AI in a small way, right? So I enrolled in an online program. So it's a self-paced course. So I'm also learning here and there because I don't want to be a laggard waiting till the last minute, you know?
Yeah.
Yes. Great. Great.
Very
So
good.
John, great. Thank you very much for taking time and doing this podcast with us.
Cool. Thank you, Michael. Lovely to see you again. I wish all your viewers a very successful AI journey.
Absolutely.